Not a good start. Anyway, a little easier than I probably usually do. I guess let's keep it going. I kind of like the videos where there's just music playing. Feels less lonely, less stark, right? Okay, so this one's probably too busy to keep going like that. I will save it in case things get boring later. All right. Yes. What have we talked about? What haven't we talked about? You know what? Before we get to, this is my first one in months. I know that. I'm just completely, I don't know. Like I've said before, one of the corollaries of how raw and such this is of just sort of doing whatever comes to mind whenever it comes to mind, is maybe I'll go a while without doing them, you know. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a YouTube star here. Coolest voicing on guitar, coolest sounding thing. Let me take off some of the distortion. Man, I just think just the C shape with the 5 on the bottom. Put a tremolo on that. Anyway, I love that sound. Before we get to the topic, I have an idea that I just want to pitch out there if anybody's interested. And I was thinking about starting a class. It would be 10 students, hour and a half group lesson every other week. It's like Monday night, not Monday night, I have a rehearsal every Monday night. Wednesday nights, let's say. Tuesday nights, Wednesday night. Tuesday nights. Hold on. Yes, Tuesday nights. That would be official. Tuesday nights, every other week. Hopefully that falls in I do have this rotating Tuesday night gig every once in a while. But, yeah, Tuesday nights, every other week, 90 minutes, 10 students. It's obviously a group lesson where we not only talk about, we've focused really hard on not just understanding a particular thing. This may be sort of higher level or, it's the kind of thing that I would talk about, right? Except you're committing to actually learning to do it, to actually mastering it. We're not going over stuff. It's not 10 people who want to go over stuff to leave in a notebook for years from now when they finally get around to working on it. I know how that works. I never used to get around to the notebook stuff, you know. But it's stuff you'd be expected to really work on. It'd be every other week, so you have 2 weeks to really actually do the thing that we're working on and make it a habit, right? So everything I talk about is mainly habit formation, right? You have a certain set of ingrained habits, like physical habits, mental habits, about how this code that runs automatically when you need to solve a certain musical puzzle, or when you need to decide on something to play, right? That those are essentially habits, and we're replacing those with the good ones, right? Well, we're not just going over information in this class. We'll actually be doing it. So 10 students, be a Zoom call every other week. You probably, at least, I don't know, we'd have to decide on the rules for who has to play in front of everybody, right? And maybe it's nobody, maybe it's volunteer only, but $180 a month. It's not bad. 2 90-minute group classes, and we're talking some pretty high level stuff, right? Either contact me on Instagram, or I'm going to give my email address out. I guess you're not supposed to do that. I don't know. I already get so much spam anyway. Instagram would be better because it won't hit a spam folder. By the way, I know I owe 40 people messages on Instagram. I know that. I go through them sometimes, and then I have 40 replacement ones. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm so slow on it. But on this, I will be watching it, and it's going to make me go through all my messages and actually respond to them. So, but if you're one of the people waiting on a response from me about something from Instagram, actually, you probably just got it last week. I did go through and respond to everything. So my text messages, I always have like 50 unread messages. Anyway, so if you're interested in the class, if you want to do it, what I'm trying to fund, this is on a personal note, the dropping of one of my gigs. I need to be able to drop one of my gigs in real life. So I thought, you know what? Oh, so my friend Noel is doing a class like this, where he does very Noelish things. He teaches very Noelish things, and which are really high concept stuff, you know. And he's doing a class like this, and I was a guest on it, at it once, and it was like, it's such a cool class, and I thought, man, I would love to start a class like this, and so here I go. So $180 a month, really only people who would take it seriously, you know, who are really going to work hard and stuff. So, and so when we talk about playing dynamics, you know, some of the stuff would be stuff we've talked about in this video series, right? When we talk about playing with dynamics, that means the next 2 weeks, you're actually doing this every day. You know, you're getting in there and giving your right hand this new habit, you know, so it's not for learning later. It's something you got to master now. So anyway, cool. If you're interested, either contact me on Instagram, or here's my email address. It's likely to hit the junk folder, and it's very possible I won't see it. So, but I will be looking, you know, mcuth, right? Mark Cuth, mcuth at hotmail.com. Hotmail, that's right. It's a 90s email address. That's why I get so much spam. I've had the email address for 25 years. So, the late 90s. So 27 years this summer. 27 years this summer. It's an old email address. It's plenty of spam coming through there. So mcuth at hotmail.com. Or better yet, contact me on Instagram if you're in. So $180 a month, 10 people, yada yada, etc. We would start in, let's say, a month, sometime late February, if everybody's on board. So, you want to talk about something today? That habit formation thing, right? So much of what I talk about is about, here's a habit. Like I said, here's a habit that runs automatically in your hands, in your brain. By the way, you know, I mean, isn't it? I've always thought it's a little strange here. Why don't we turn that back on? By the way, you hear the bass? I've been trying this pedal. I gotta. This thing's amazing. This is an incredible pedal. It's a OPFXS Dig Deep. I bought it with my money. This is just me talking. I've gotten some really cool. I've gotten very few things the past year or so. I got this. I got this. This one's sick. This is a Apollo approved steamroller. This is gonna be backwards in it. So it's like a germanium fuzz face. Man, this is amazing. Apollo approved steamroller. It's cool. And then I bought this the other day, which is, it doubles the lowest note in your chord, and it does a magnificent job of telling what's the lowest note of your chord and only the lowest note of your chord. And it's got kind of a synth-based sound, and you can split it into 2 outputs. It's super cool. So anyway, I'm just kind of excited about it. Now to plug back up. Okay, a book of 10 licks. A book of 10 licks. This is, I think, a very good way of progressing as a guitar player, right? So, a lick doesn't, but you figure out, you come up with a lick, or you figure out a lick from somebody else, and you want it to permeate your playing, right? And things like it to permeate your playing. That's the way that happens, is through habit formation, right? You have to make it a habit. You have to make it a part of muscle memory such that it can run without your explicit input, right? Especially if you're talking about wanting to do it fast, right? We've talked about before, if you're wanting to play a fast lick, it needs to be something that can run without discrete commands from your brain, right? In other words, muscle memory. Something that can run on its own. There's just certain lines in my playing, there are a ton of them, but they sort of morph into each other. But I don't need to give the individual commands for every single note, right? And fast licks, right? Your fast licks are going to be way higher percentage of muscle memory than your slow licks are, right? So anyway, if you want something, if you've got some lick that you're wanting to work into your playing, really it's only going to get there when it's habitual, right? And the only way, how do you make habits, right? You make habits through intentional, repeated action, right? Repeated intentional action. So today, I'm going to get up and I'm going to play that lick that I want to show up in my playing 12 times, right? And tomorrow, I'm going to get up and play that lick 12 times. And the next day, I'm going to get up and play that lick 12 times. The recurring day after day is the important part, right? Because let's face it, for some reason, however the human brain works, you learn stuff while you're not doing it, right? At least most of the breakthroughs I've ever made on guitar have not happened while I was playing guitar. It's maybe I'll make a mental breakthrough and come up with some idea, like, oh, this is the way to think about this, or here's a very cool lick, or whatever it is. Here's a technique that I need to change, I need to hammer on like this and not like my old way, right? You'll sit there and work on it, but you won't get it, at least in my experience, I won't get it while I'm working on it. And the next day I come back and work on it, and I won't have it, and it won't happen while I'm working on it. I'm doing a bad job of it while I'm working on it. Then one day you come back, you pick up the guitar, and you can already do that thing. Or that lick is already a habit. Something about the human brain, it learns by repetition, not by duration, right? So it's why they tell you not to cram for tests, right? When you're in school. You study one night, study the next night, study the next night. Something about those breaks and then redoing it, redrawing those synapses, those synaptic connections. That's how the human brain works best, right? So in this case, let's say there are licks that you want to incorporate in your playing. I am proposing that you always have a book of 10 licks. You don't want this book to be too big, but it's a list of licks that you want to show up in your playing. And again, as they show up in your playing, as they become muscle memory, they will morph into not being the exact lick anymore, right? I think that will happen naturally. It's not something you have to obsess over or worry about. So 10 licks. Every day you play those 10 licks, right? As one of them, you're sure graduates to muscle memory, as you start to do one of them, take it off, right? And something else takes hold. You don't want a book of 20 licks. You may not want a book of 10 licks. 5 licks might be enough. But the list shouldn't be too short, probably. I mean, you should probably have enough things coming in that you're growing, right? But the list definitely can't be too long, because a book of 20 licks is probably, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but it could be that that's beyond what the human machine can incorporate at a given time. So let's say you've got 10 licks, you play them every day for a couple of weeks. One of them here and there is going to graduate to where you're pretty sure this one's automatic. By the way, if it's temporarily a book of 7 licks, that's fine too. But literally, keeping a notebook of these things. Buy a physical notebook, just tab them out. Here's 10, here's some licks. Then go through and have some marking for when it graduates. And then the next page, you've added a new lick, right? Book of 10 licks, because the name of the game in getting great at guitar and getting great at anything, I've said this a million times, maybe not in this exact way, but the way you get great at anything, and that absolutely includes guitar, it absolutely includes music in general, which is more of a mental thing, right? Thinking the right way. The way you get great is through habit formation. It's always habit formation. It's always you're rewriting your code. Your default code is something that runs, almost without your permission, the way that you think about soloing over something. There's an automatic habit that comes in. I've always thought it was weird that, when you get a beginner guitar student, and you probably remember this from your own playing, but we come to an instrument that we've never played before with habits already, right? If somebody says, you know what, a better way to pick would be to plant your wrist, right? But you're like, nah, it doesn't feel right. This feels right, right? Well, why does this feel right? You've never played the instrument anyway. Why do you have ingrained habits? As an aside, I've long suspected that a lot of the people who we take as just being naturally talented at guitar or at something, that they just picked up guitar and they were really good within the first year, I've long suspected. So if you think, let's say there's like 200 categories in which you need to have, you need to be really good at guitar. There's probably more, there might be less, I don't know, right? So hammer-ons, thinking about how to play over changes, thinking what to think about while you're playing licks, bending in tune, cool vibrato, right? There's a million categories that you want to be really good at, right? And yet you have a natural, you're not a tabula rasa. This is bringing up the old debate between the rationalists and the empiricists, right? Empiricism actually, it can mean a very broad range of things, but anyway, just going to get into Bos von Fraustian empiricism, where it's a very skeptical endeavor. Anyway, but the rationalists thought that they were ingrained ideas, right? That you were born with certain ideas. The empiricists said that actually that's not the case. You're a tabula rasa. In reality, it's kind of a blank slate. In reality, it's sort of in between. But so you come to guitar with a bunch of habits already, even though you've never played it, right? To me, I suspect, just on strictly statistical grounds, wouldn't you expect that some small percentage of people who pick up guitar would just happen to have, a lot of those habit spots would happen to have the right habit, just out of fluke? Not because they're more talented or more brilliant than the rest of us, but just as a statistical fluke, they happen to have the right habit in the fast picking category, and in the so-and-so category, and the so-and-so category. Statistically speaking, I would think a small minority of people would have that. And that's kind of what we observe. We observe a small minority of people who pick up the guitar and they're just blazing in no time, right? Or they're playing brilliant stuff in relative no time. And maybe what some of the people we label as talented were just statistically lucky to have the good habits, where the rest of us are statistically unlucky and have bad habits. But regardless, if you're a statistically unlucky person like me, you can still get really good by intentional repeated action. Figure out what the right habit is, what it is you want to instantiate in your playing, intentionally, repeatedly do it every day, right? And that's where the book of 10 licks comes in. Write down a lick that you want to become, that you want a part of your playing in a physical notebook. Have some symbol for when it graduates to, I'm sure I have incorporated this now, and now it's time to do it. If the incorporation into muscle memory takes months, welcome to the club. That's how it was for me, right? Again, whatever I can do on guitar or in music pretty much came through analysis and intentional repeated action, not through talent. I never rolled out of bed just good, you know. And so can you. Make sense? Okay. Book of 10 licks. Get on it. If you want to join the class, message me on Instagram or at mcuth@hotmail.com. It's $180 a month, hour and a half every other week on a Tuesday night, sometime Central Time. Let's say 7 p.m. Central Time. If my kids barge in over and over, we'll go long. I mean, I'm not going to cap it right at 90 minutes, you know. So, should be a fun hang. Should be a really fun hang. I would think a group of 10 people, that'd be a lot of fun talking about this stuff. And you're looking to incorporate the things, like we're not going over, I'm not disseminating information. This is more of a gem than a lecture series. Like you're looking to master this stuff right now, right? And you've got 10 other people holding you accountable to doing that, right? Cool. And I'll see about the way Noel's doing is getting some guest people to present, you know, just like having a guest speaker. I'll see about doing that. I've got a few people who might do it, and you might think it's really cool. So anyway, there you go. mcuth@hotmail.com. Better yet, message me on Instagram. I'm trying to find quitting a gig, but also it just sounds fun to me. So sounds like a good hang. Cool. Book of 10 licks. Right? Like at least write a book of 3 licks today. But it can be short. So, all right, bye.